Hi, I'm Carolyn Norton. I'm the Director of Engineering and Operations. Been with Velosio over a decade now. And my principal role here is to help organizations transition into the cloud or even adopt further into the cloud as it relates to Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365. Moving to the cloud often comes with a bit of concern and worry because it's abstract to some degree. Um, when you think about the years and years that we've had where it's all about CapEx and physical and infrastructure, we're very used to and familiar with that concept. It's tangible and we understand it. As organizations, whether they're in the cloud today or venturing to start their cloud journey, start to have those conversations, there's still this current fear of the unknown. Am I going to get surprised with a large cloud invoice? Cloud is expensive. There's so much I can do in the cloud, but I know this old way better, so I think I'll stick to that. That usually is what happens with organizations. So the goal here is to talk about cost management, what tools and what best practices organizations can take to alleviate some of the unknown so that they really can see the benefits of moving into the cloud, how that's going to relate to the organization, and knowing that there is a strong way to manage costs, adhere to budgets, and meet goals and objectives. When you as an organization start planning for your cloud journey, you're likely going to sit down and start planning a budget. So the question becomes, how do you plan that budget and how do you track against it? Well, in the traditional fashion, you would sit down and look at, physical expense, what time it takes to put it all together. But when it relates to the cloud, it starts to move into what was a CapEx into an OpEx. So when you sit down and try to set up a cloud budget, usually what I recommend is looking at what are your goals for the cloud journey? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the deployment plan? What are the objectives? What are priority items and what are the measurables around that? Because that's going to help influence what resources you're looking for inside of your cloud environment. When do you want to introduce those resources? What type of resource do you need to meet those metrics, goals, and objectives inside of your cloud journey? And from there, that's going to give you a real good understanding of where your budget's going to land. The other thing you'll be able to do once you have a good starting point with your budget is moving towards, okay, now that you have goals, objectives, and metrics, that's a really good way to keep track of your budget, right? Because you're basing your budget on those parameters. Are they meeting the needs of your organization at that time based on priority? Are they hitting the metrics, milestones, goals? And if it is doing that and tracking against budget, then you know your budgeting worked out well. Now, if you've done budgeting before, you know that sometimes your budget has to change, which is absolutely fine. You have something to measure against. So if you start to see that what wasn't a priority become more of a priority, get moved up, well, again, you've laid out all your goals and objectives. And if it was something that was already on the list on the lower tier, if you bump it up, you have an understanding of what that impact looks like, and you can track against that in your budget.